how you guys dealt with being architects, Andy and Brent? How have you dealt with trying to get them to understand how we're using their models, how we're interrogating their models? Most of them really freak out when they realize what we're doing with their models, but how are they reacting, and what kind of changes have you seen, them wanting to really be part of the process?
Well, I'll speak specifically to Beck's integration process, because we have our own people, our own architects, and we do third-party work as well. Our group is working hard to create workflows and training that talk about the model. Hey, if we're going to move to model-based estimating, this is what we need in the model. And that's an ongoing conversation, and we've been doing this for 20 years, and we're still not there yet. So that just tells you how far we have come and how far we have to go still. But it's an ongoing conversation, and we have to train, and we have to talk about this. I had this conversation last week. I brought the model in, and it didn't have X, Y, and Z. So if I were to rely on this model 100% for my estimate, we'd be up a creek. And here's why: because I need this area, and I need this slab, and I need these columns, whatever those components are. So it's just an ongoing conversation. We've got to train each other. I got to learn from them about why do they not want to spend the time to model X, Y, and Z. There's probably a very valid reason. That's a two-way conversation. But for a firm that relies on that as our foundational business model, we've got to eventually start talking the same language.
For us, it always goes back to educating everybody who's going to be involved in that process. And I would have thought 5 years ago that we would have kind of gotten past that hurdle at some point and it would just become the day-to-day, and it's not. We still spend a lot of time removing fear, educating on the process, why it's important. We try to seed that as early into a project as we can. We try to do it with the owners or the client when we can. We work on a variety of project types, so sometimes that's easier, sometimes that's harder, whether it's a hard bid or design build or what have you. We work in a variety of contract types, so you don't always have that opportunity to get in front of the right person and make your case on why it needs to be a really important part of the coordination process and the construction process. So when we can, we try to insert it early. And with the architect in particular, since you brought that part up, we try to build partners with the architects. We do a fair amount of projects where we have repeat business, when we're going to use similar, maybe not the entire design team's the same, but at least it's the same architect or the same mechanical or what have you. So we try to build long-term relationships with them so that they can see it from soup to nuts one time, and then we go to the next project. We don't have to start all over, and we kind of build on those successes. And that really has been the impetus for a lot of some of our big successes, is just getting that buy-in. And I will tell you that we get thrown every kind of waiver or whatever kind of contractual, I'm not required to make my model perfect for you. We pick our battles. Some jobs it's worth really pushing for more. Some jobs it's not. And we have to take that on a business case basis.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the market that you're in. If you're doing healthcare work like Robinson Morton or higher education, you have a little bit different client type who's willing to invest in that with that architect and invest in the time to make sure that your BIM plan is right, have the right contractual arrangement that allows the architect then to have the time, a little bit of flexibility to respond to the needs of the contractor. If you're doing a high-rise residential building downtown Atlanta and you got a developer and all he cares about is getting that cost per room down, he does not care one bit whether I'm using the BIM model or I'm using 2D takeoff. All he cares about is that I turn an estimate around as quick as possible and that I give him the best price. And so his contractual arrangement is, like, for example, we are just topping out a 40-story tower in downtown Atlanta that the architectural firm is just starting to use Revit for the first time. So it just depends on what market you're in, I think, as to, again, it's all about, we talked about it before, but managing expectations.